Awesome. Hello, and welcome to Birdeye Live, the show dedicated to the digital transformation of local businesses everywhere. Join me, Justin Meredith, your host and digital marketing evangelist here at Birdeye, as we learn from industry experts about the how and the why for taking your business online and claiming the most valuable real estate on the internet, that first page of Google. Now, we are here today with Ben Fisher, or otherwise known as Ben GBT, and Steve Wiideman. And we're going to be talking today about our upcoming webinar that's on this Thursday. And it's titled the Local Search Expert Series. I think it's our third or fourth installment that we've had so far.
I think it's number three.
Number three, yeah. And and this one is the State of Local Search in 2023. And in that discussion, we're going to be taking a look back at 2022 and seeing how the landscape of SEO and local search has changed and evolved, what features are becoming more prominent, what are not quite becoming as prominent, what trends are coming forward. And then we're going to look forward to 2023 and make some bold predictions as to what we think is coming and what you can expect and what you can do to prepare yourself for 2023. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. How are you guys doing today?
Amazing. How are you, Justin?
Good.
Thanks for having me, Justin. It's no longer a Monday, and we're one day closer to a Friday.
Still feels like a Monday.
Right? So does.
Yeah. Well, that's why we do the streams on Tuesdays, because I don't have the energy and the vibes on Mondays are just too low. Well, I'm pumped. I'm really, really pumped for Thursday's discussion because we actually have a ton of topics to cover. And it seems like as we get closer and closer to that webinar on Thursday, it feels like more and more topics are coming out and more talking points and more things that, with all kinds of stuff that really kind of triggered off in December and November of last year and then moving into now. And so in that webinar, we are going to take a look back at 2022, and we're going to cover some of those really impactful things that happened that impacted local businesses. And then we're going to look to the future and provide our bold predictions for 2023. So without giving away too much of Thursday's discussion, when we stop and we take a look back and examine the landscape of local search within the last 12 months, what were some of those impacts or those things that carried an impact that you guys saw that really shook things up?
Ben, you want to go first?
Oh, things that shook things up. I mean, in the local side, with Google Business Profiles, besides organic, of course, shaking things up, which it always does. But as far as GPP goes, I mean, last year we had two things that really happened, and that were pretty interesting for us marketers and for the world. And that is of course, Google Business Profiles was renamed from Google My Business. Cosmetic thing, but still traumatizing, and get some PTSD off that. But seriously, but then the switch over to the in-search experience, where you're managing everything, on the web. So those two things, I mean, they're not really local search issues, but they were enough to cause some ripples.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited to see. When I look back, excited to see all the businesses that are actually starting to pay attention to the Google Maps rankings. Like at some point, they finally just looked for themselves for the business and they went, "Whoa, this isn't what my customers should see," and they're starting to interact a little bit more with their business listings. And of course, we'll talk about in the webinar Thursday a little more about how you can do that in line now versus having to log into some kind of dashboard or reporting system. It's not a marketer's responsibility anymore. It's it's everyone in the business who cares about getting more business. And I think that some of the changes that Google made last year empower businesses to be a little bit more interactive and engaged with their visibility in search. So I'm excited to share kind of what we've seen and some ways and maybe even some cheat sheets on ways that you can interact with your listing naturally in a way that follows search engine guidelines, but also sends the right pattern of signals to the search engines that you're alive and open and relevant and maybe even popular. So it's going to be fun to kind of go through some of that laundry list of tasks that you can do every day or every week, however much time you want to put into it, to increase the number of calls and clicks you get from search.
Mm-hmm. And that's and what you said, there's that laundry list of things that you have to do every day consistently. That's a huge key, especially in 2023, is that these efforts to manage your online reputation or your Google business profile or just kind of your overall presence online or on Google is not a set it and forget it type of thing. It does take continuous work in the sense of, managing it, making sure that you're staying up to date on everything and doing what you need to do without doing a bunch of hacks and cheats and things to get around the system, and optimizing yourself. I think that I can't remember if it was you, Ben, or Steve in our last webinar. You were saying, like, don't optimize your website for Google, optimize it for your customer or the user.
Right.
Yeah. And and I think that's such a key thing in 2023. And, being able to, think of it from that perspective, because I think with all the other stuff that's going to be coming in 2023, that's going to become really, really important. So moving towards 2023, I don't want to spoil too much of the discussion from Thursday because we're going to really dive into this stuff heavily. But can you guys give us a little bit of or maybe one of your bold predictions for 2023?
And I know how excited you are about this one. I'll let you go first.
Okay, fine.
Ben GPT.
Ben GPT. I really think that, what we're seeing with the AI tools, like, with OpenAI, with Midjourney, etc., and all of the other things that are happening with it. Right now, it's kind of an explosion of concepts and ideas, and people are experimenting. I'm experimenting, as well. And it's interesting. And I think really what we're going to be discussing on Thursday is where can this go? Because this has only been out for a couple weeks, really, right? Maybe a month. And, as of anything with technology, it's going to exponentially build upon itself. And we're going to get new things, for instance, Microsoft, Bing incorporating ChatGPT into their search results soon.
It's coming up March, I think, right?
Yeah. It's like, how's that going to look? What's that going to do to us, if anything, So yeah, that's my big, bold prediction is that 2023 is going to be the year that AI really infects us marketers.
Interesting. And
I agree. I think the learning is still to come. I think we're all going to learn our lessons. Hopefully a lot of folks will read that new local SEO book you wrote. I saw the chapters and that was so cool. Ben actually asked ChatGPT, write me a book on, or give me a chapter and a chapter list for a book on local SEO, and it went
with subcategories.
Like, oh my god, that was, and it was good.
It was rewrite it with subcategories too. It's like, geez.
So I think a lot of it's going to be talking. Our conversations are going to be aligned with how can we best use this technology without abusing this technology, especially when there's warning flags from search engines on too much automation. And and I know we talked about this in the last event, but the one fear, of course, is that we stop talking to our customers like they're our customers, and we start talking to them like they're reading an article, right? Yeah. And so we need to have some level of narrative, and I think that's going to be the big thing that businesses have to balance this year. So yeah, part one is let's figure out this new tech and how we can best utilize it, because there are a lot of really great ideas that could transcend into huge opportunities for us. But then I think the second part of that is, also how do we balance that with continuing to build our brand and our story and who we are as a company and focusing on values. I know some business owners have this mindset that's really troubling, and these are business owners that normally folks like Ben and I just won't work with. If I'm not number one in Google, then I'm fired. Then you're fired, right? It's like, okay, so we grew your visibility in search. You've been converting more of your customers, more of your visitors into customers. You're doing really good. It's because they don't care. They just want to be number one, no matter what it takes, no matter what kind of hacking or black hat or or spamming they need to do to make that happen. And I think if brands can just take a step back and look at their business and who they want to be. And I know Covey talks about that in his 7 Habits book, is think with the end in mind. How do you want to be remembered as a business? I made a lot of money. Okay, well, eventually you lost all your customers because you only cared about driving, customers and not about the experience and the memory piece of it, which, companies like Apple have done a fantastic job with. So I think that's going to be part of the message. If automation is getting exciting to a lot of these business owners, then I want to be the one to safeguard the branding and who they want to be as a company, so that they can marry the two technologies and have some balance between automation and branding.
Yeah, and the more that I read about this, and the more that I learn about the AI and the Chat GPT and those things like that, the more it feels like 2023 is going to be like the Wild West.
Yeah.
In the sense of, it's going to be really hard to tell what exactly is going to happen in terms of the direction that everything goes, how search engines are going to respond. But if you're a local business, how would you feel going into the new year with all this? Like, would you feel optimistic or excited, or cautious and maybe a little worried based on how things could
I
play
would
out?
think worried, and here's why: is that small businesses have always had kind of this key advantage against bigger companies because they're more nimble, and they are very easily able to do things that big organizations can't do. Right?
Grind.
We've talked
The
about
nightly
this so
grind. Yeah.
we've talked about this so many times. Like it's like, hey Steve, how long did it take to create that one email address for that one customer?
Yeah.
4 months, right? For one email address. And but a small business can do it in overnight. But now with AI and such, there's something that's gone ahead and just leveled the playing field completely. And once the tools get better, it's like, example, somebody brought this up to me the other day. They said Midjourney has this flavor, like you can tell something is a Midjourney image. I will refute that, because I stare at that stream, unfortunately, for probably an hour every single day, especially out of the corner of my eye, and I see some stuff in there that's amazing, and I would have never thought Midjourney made it. But my point there is that once this tool becomes mainstream, now Joe's Pizza and Joe, who runs the Enterprise Rent-A-Car, can now create the same type of imagery on an even playing field. There is no, hey, I've got to go hire somebody and pay them $5,000 to make me images for my website. Oh, I'm just going to go to Midjourney and type in whatever I think, And then there's people who can sell you prompts if you don't have any kind of creativity, So I think that that's going to be something that's terrifying. And I will throw out a prediction, and then we can discuss it, of course, a lot more on Thursday. I think there will end up being a Google kind of algorithm penalty that comes from creating content in this kind of fashion.
Too much automation.
Too much, exactly. We've seen it before,
And I get to work with a lot of enterprises, some that have 1,600 to 4,000 locations. And I remember in 2021, we set up a team of data miners to go out and get 60 unique fields to help with creating unique content across all of those locations and some of their specialty pages of things that they want to appear for in localized results. With Chat GPT and this kind of technology, we can automate that process, not necessarily the editing piece, because you never know what kind of random weird things are going to slip in when you're doing data mining. Yeah. But thanks to technologies like this and APIs, we could probably collect all the data in less than an hour versus spending a year, manually going through and studying each location to find interesting, helpful, evergreen content that's not likely to change. So I think this is going to save larger brands a lot of time and money, and it's going to accelerate a bit. And so we'll walk through some of those examples on Thursday, some of the things that we found, some of the things that we were able to do very quickly, some of the things to stay away from. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of insights. So we're also going to talk about, since we're talking about AI, some image AI stuff. And Ben, you and I have talked about this several times on some of our events that we've been to, and I'm really excited to get into that a little bit deeper on Thursday too, and how image recognition and those sort of technologies can actually enhance your visibility in search if you pay attention to it, and you've got a nice checklist of things that you should be doing to enhance that, and building a pattern that search engines recognize, so that you're not just, like you mentioned, set it, forget it.
In other words, are you semantically involved, Steve?
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we're nearing the end of our time today. Before we head out, do you guys have any final thoughts or advice before we meet back up again on Thursday?
I'm just excited to nerd out with you guys again and share all sorts of things that we've learned with those folks that are doing local, and seeing how we can help, and grateful for the opportunity.
Yep. And I'll throw out one more Chat GPT or Ben GPT thing out there. And before Thursday, if you want to go to OpenAI and ask it really succinctly, does geotagging help with local SEO? We will answer that question, of course, on Thursday, but go ask OpenAI.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys both for joining us today. And as we just talked about, the 2023 is going to be a crazy year. There's going to be a lot of unknown. Like I said, it's going to be that kind of the wild west of the AI, basically. But when we talk about this on Thursday, we are going to find some ways or identify some ways that you can at least set yourself up to be ready and make sure that you can be prepared for whatever may come, so that you can set yourself up for success as you go into the unknown of 2023. So don't forget to register for Thursday's discussion and catch our full breakdown of our local search in 2022 and our bold predictions for 2023. And be sure to follow us here on LinkedIn if you're not already, and get all of our content that's designed to help you master your online reputation. We'll see you next time. Thank you.